morning, board. As an update for the month of April, the financial processes and efficiencies that we've been examining in the Bridgeport Public Schools in their current budget has yielded, I'll start out of the gate with this time, an estimated $6 million, as well as a $2 million reimbursement rate with the district. The technical assistance team and public works have really been supporting the district, identifying and gathering information around special education students who are transitioning. I think I mentioned this last month, who are leaving the books, if you will, due to graduation. They've found cost efficiencies there. They've identified and looked through a number of these individual students to determine the degree of support for educators, found cost savings there. In district transportation, they've been able to identify which students actually need are going to be transferred throughout the district during the school day. I found a number of savings across all of these areas. They've also looked at some of the reimbursement rates, and on the bottom of page 1, I can draw your attention to this. The Medicaid reimbursements in the last year as a direct intervention with our technical assistance team has found about $500,000 reimbursement rates. They've also worked with the Medicaid provider to train up staff members to review claims that have been issued as a part of the district's health insurance to save. Well, they've identified $2.2 million and were able to recover $900,000 in claims for individuals who were not actually on insurance over the last 20 years. Might be associated, family member that's no longer but still taking claims to the district. So a number of these efficiencies that have been identified directly due to the work of our technical assistance team are weekly aiding for the superintendent to ensure that his team is gathering this information across the efficiencies that we've identified. The mayor on the 23rd has posted his budgetary contribution to the sum of $5 million, which is about a 2% increase over the contribution from previous years. And it may note, as you may have read in the headlines, that I'm a similar amount in the subsequent year. The city council will go through their process, and we hope to have an understanding of where the city may fall by latest June 6th. There's some negotiation vetoing processes that may occur. We've continued to push the district and engage them in conversations about advocating on their own behalf. $5 million as part of the impact committee meeting, where they would be doing with the city the plans for projections of expenses, and in order to be able to access the $5 million that was allocated or proposed to be allocated to education. We have continued to monitor, and the district, if you all recall, at the end of last school year, there were about 120 vacancies in the district. Got that down to 41 as a result of our weekly and bi-weekly communications with the districts to recruit and retain staff. They've hovered at around 40. Currently, the number is 44 right now, but we're also advocating trying to build out those systems to ensure that we don't enter into the summer with a similar thing, especially as this is the transition time of a lot of educators across the state. We are turning our attention to professional development with the district. We've identified that this is now the time that they need to be planning about what they're going to do with staff in preparation for the summer months, which is often the time to do that work, as well as throughout next year. So we've solicited from the district what their focus areas are. We're leveraging the expertise of our teams here to identify what we have resourced to support. And we'll be meeting as soon as the second week of April to work with the district to help them scaffold out educators across the district. There's been some notable progress in the efforts that our team here has supported the districts to lift up their district attendance review team. They've been having a great deal of success, show a reduction of chronic absenteeism across the district by 2.6 percentage points comparative to February of last year. There's been a significant uptick in their number of home visits. To note 39 to 504 over the last few months has been on a monthly basis has been an excellent increase. So they've had a lot of positive outcome from engaging families and students to get them back into the classroom. And I'll finally note, in support of the Bridgeport Board of Education, there was a letter that was sent to us by the Chair Perez, who inquired about or updated us essentially on their progress, past bylaws and certain evaluation and administrative policies relative to the role of the superintendent district. And the board chair was intimating that the board planned to postpone the search and extend the contract with the current superintendent And what we would like to see is that certainly they continue to make progress towards revising those bylaws and policies, but they don't delay. We need to make sure that they are in action around the search for a permanent superintendent, whomever that may be. And we have kind of instructed that we would like to see that progress, establishing a search committee and a search firm by June 1 of this year, as well as finalize those policies, which they are currently underway doing and making progress towards. So that concludes my report. Bridgeport Board.
Question? Right. I just wanted to note that following up what Charlie said, that I think Jared essentially articulating what Charlie just said, building new activity by law, it said, and it can become very popular across the state. But nonetheless, so we are communicating and working with them. It's a process, really, Charlie.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Give me a microphone because my aging vocal cords just don't work on that. I'm glad to hear that you're still following up on the superintendent search. But just, a comment that June 1st is the goal now. Right? Just to bear in mind that, and I've been involved in 50, 60 superintendent searches in the past, that the pool of candidates are reluctant to do a mid-year change unless they're in trouble in their own district. But they're reluctant. So that right now, March is the season when it primarily happens. The earlier you can get started on getting into that season, the better off you are. If you wait too long to the year, you actually lose candidates that might be a good match. So if it's June 1st, I just want to bear in mind that your goal is to have somebody in place January 1st. It might be a reluctant pool. I mean, a pool of people who just would say, I'd love to go to that district, but I'm not leaving my district in the middle of the year. Look at the timeline up. Getting started early, I think is a great idea. Because I know Bridgeport things get delayed.
Attorney Buchanan and I met with the district at their urgency to get this process started. I knew back then in January that they could proceed with the hiring of search committee. Still has not occurred. So we are not leaving room for that delay. We want to see some action on it.
And if I may, I have somebody has a follow-up question on that. The question in the budget piece, Mayor Ganamus put in 2% of original.
2% of the previous year's city contribution, to be clear.
Correct. Thank you. My question is, what are the actual fixed costs of the district going from one year to the next as far as teacher contracts and the contracts and expenses and student population? Because it could be 5% and getting a 2% year-to-year overage is not going to difference. It'll go backwards.
I appreciate that question. I think we'd be here until dinner if I were to explain. But essentially, yes, you're right. We focused a significant amount of work with the district on identifying those fixed costs that were the main drivers of their operational budget. Certainly, there's a large portion of state and federal funds that also contribute to this that aren't necessarily a part of the city's portion of the contribution. So when we look at a 5% to $5 million, 2% contribution, we are looking at how that is bearing against the other sources of revenue for the district. I can't answer off the top of my head each individual of that. I would have to look back at some of my notes and give that information to you. But you're exactly right in identifying that main drivers can anticipate a natural prediction of what the district is going to need comparative to how much the increase is necessary. That's reserved for the mayor's decision.
Thank you, team. Final presentation. It will be fast. It's an update on Director of Education.